Well, good morning, good afternoon, possibly good evening, everyone. Welcome to Tapped In with Vero Lead Biz Solutions. I have a question. Is your business making the money that you thought it would? Are you worried about paying your bills despite having a consistent income? Well, our show, Tapped In with Verily Biz Solutions, is all about bringing success to you in your personal and in your business life. I'm Fran
You're
Strickland.
worried about paying your bills despite having.
I'm Fran Strickland, Chief Consultant, founder and CEO at Vero Chastain Global Enterprises. And the purpose of our platform is to create a forum for you to gain insights, learn new things, and grow. So today, I'm delighted to have with us Mr. Tony Giffen. He is an expert in making SMB's life a whole lot better by reducing debtor days. Now, I'm speaking slowly just to make sure that the audio keeps up with us. As you can see, there's a delay. So please excuse the slow delivery. So now, what I'm going to do is ask Tony to come on board to introduce us so that we get a chance to get to know who he is, because I am so excited about having us with us. So, Tony, why don't you kick us off by doing solid? Tell us all about you.
Okay, well, first of all, I'd just like to say thanks for having us on, Fran. Quite excited to be here. Been looking forward to it for a little while now. So, a little bit about how I got into credit control. Well, initially, I didn't actually know what credit control was. And so, going way back now, I had a wellbeing business, and I was on a counselling course, and I met a girl called Heather, who's now my business partner. She was also on the counselling course, and she ran a credit control company. And we hit it off. Disappeared after after the counselling. We disappeared off to our own sort of businesses and stuff. And then one day, I had someone who hadn't paid my invoices, and I was thinking, how am I going to get paid now? And I remembered Heather saying what she did. So I called her up, and she got that sorted out for me, and we ended up getting chatting. And then I thought, actually, that's quite an interesting thing to do. So I started doing some work with her, and then we got together as a proper sort of partnership, if you like, about 12 years ago. So it just came about purely by chance, really. Obviously, since then, everything's come on leaps and bounds. I've learned loads of stuff, but the actual counselling thing itself was actually quite strange, because it enabled us to not only to get together and sort of learn stuff from each other, but the skills that we actually learned on the counselling course came in really handy when we were actually working doing credit control, because a lot of the skills that you pick up are like how to read people's body language, how to listen to what people are saying, and how to react to that. And that's quite a lot of what we actually do on a day-to-day basis when we're working with our clients. So that came in really, really handy. And then in terms of how we work now, what Midland Credit Control, which is what our company is, how do we work with SMEs, or what do we do for them? Ultimately, we make the cash flow more fluid for small businesses. So they've got money to spend. They're not constantly sort of waiting to get paid. So we make the cash flow more fluid. We'll talk a little bit about how we do that a bit later on down the line. That enables us to take the pressure off the owners. So a lot of businesses, I mean, we work with businesses from all different sizes, from like little tiny ones right up to huge ones. But generally speaking, especially for the smaller end of the market, the owners get quite stressed out, or can do, because they've taken a long time building up to get this relationship with someone to do business with them. And then there's a delay in the payments and they feel like they could ruin that relationship by pushing. So that's where we come in, so we can take the pressure off the owners. We can offer advice on getting paid more quickly. And a lot of the time when we get called in, we'll look at the processes that are currently in place and we'll look to see how we can streamline them in line with what we do and the experience that we've had. So that's basically how we got started and what we actually do in a nutshell.
Okay. Wow. So I heard a couple things. One is it was like you kind of found yourself in a difficult situation and you had to work through it, which led to a great relationship. And then also, and something had popped in my head as we were as we began the process of talking about, doing this stream together, is the kind of emotional aspect of collections that comes up for owners, which you addressed it in your opening comments. That is quite stressful for owners to do that because of the relationship, once of establishing the relationship to get the sale, to get the selling customer, the client relationship, and then the fact that you're not getting paid, and it's creating a problem for you as a business.
Yeah, and that's it in a nutshell. Yeah, it's remarkable how many people you come across that actually fall into that trap, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, in terms of collections and stuff, how that works. So, the collections are crucial to any business survival. I can't stress that enough, really. If you're not getting your invoices paid, then your business is not going to survive.
Right.
They're normally at the back end of the business. So when I say that, like when we think of businesses and the amount of money that gets ploughed in and invested in businesses, a lot of it's at the front end that you can see. So a lot of it will be with sales and marketing people. So you have the sales guys that go out, the marketing people that do like, I don't know, all different types of advertising, online and otherwise. But a lot of the money goes there. And the sales guys especially will be like, oh yeah, we've just like made so much in sales this month. We've sold, I don't know, 20,000 quid's worth of stuff. We're doing really, really well. However, if you're not getting paid on time for those goods or services that you're selling, then you're actually giving it away, really. So you see all this stuff at the front end, all the nice glitzy stuff. The back end bit, which is our end, no one really gets to see that much, and it doesn't get publicized, and people don't really talk about it too much or even think about it. But we generally go in and we're having a different working relationship with the clients.
Mm-hmm.
Sales guys have one type of working relationship. We have a different type. And our kind of working relationship is built up over quite a while. There's a huge element of trust involved there. And we just basically make sure that the money's coming in for the business. So if that's not happening, like we said, then your business starts floundering. And the smaller the business, the less cash that they have ready, really. And so the less margin that they have for spending that amount of time trying to collect it in. So you can have a business that's selling quite a lot of goods or services, but they're not getting the money coming in on time, and that's when businesses go under, because they just haven't got the money to tide them over that particular time, that wait, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about that ecosystem of from order to cash, one of the things when I'm working with a client and we're talking about their cash flow is the terms that they negotiate both with their vendors, but also the terms that they have with their customers. Can you talk a little bit about possibly how there might be a relationship around those terms that may contribute or might be considered relative to when a business might, pursue collections? Can you provide some insight there?
Absolutely. So I can give you, I've got a couple of case studies that we can talk about that will illustrate that probably.
Sure. Okay. Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So just before we do that, I'd just like to say in a nutshell what it is that we actually do. So I've just talked a little bit about it, about us being involved in the back end. But what we actually do is a lot more than making sure that we've got our clients paid on time. So, it's more than just a couple of phone calls, really. So, which, some people think it's just a couple of calls. Some people are aware it's a bit more than that that's involved. Especially if it's your business and you're putting your trust in us. So, there's a lot of trust that's involved there by the business owners. So initially, when we get called in, we would evaluate the process that a business currently has and make sure that it's working properly. 9 times out of 10, it needs streamlining a little bit or a lot, depending. We then go on and monitor the invoicing and the delivery and acceptance of those invoices. So we don't actually do the invoicing, but we monitor how that goes. And we can then organise payment dates. And if people are struggling, then we can organise payment plans as well. So because what we don't want to do is just get them to the point where they just go, well, you know what, I'm not paying you. We don't want that. So again, it's all about developing that relationship and that trust with those clients. So we do that. We can recognise where the problems lie, which problem clients may be on the ledger. So we've got companies that we work with and they have clients that pay late or have to be pushed and prodded screaming to pay every single month, and we know which ones those are, right? So we can look at that, we can highlight that, we can include that in any sort of forecasting or report so no one's getting caught out. The other thing that we do with everyone that we work with is we use CreditSafe to credit check all their clients. And the reason why we do that is because then we're aware of like how many days beyond terms that they normally pay, and we get warning emails. So if there's a change in circumstances, so if the company's got a change of director, if they file their accounts late and so on and so forth, if there's any CCJs being issued against that company, then we'll get a notification about that. That enables us then to plan ahead. So if there's a CCJ and they haven't paid some of their bills, why haven't they paid those bills? Is the company then on shaky ground? And if our client's doing a lot of business with them, then that might be something that they want to have a look at. So they might actually just go, we've given you terms at the moment, but we're actually going to put you on cash only for the time being until the business comes back into being stable again. So that's basically what we do. Now, in terms of how that works in the real world, like I say, I got a couple of case studies, right? So the first case study is a small business that we picked up 4 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we got the business because we were recommended by an FD that this business has started using. So we're an outsourced company. The FD also outsourced, so they just come in and work a couple of days a week. So it's a small business, and the situation is that the owners of the business originally were ill-advised by the credit control people that they had in place. And one of the things that they did was offer terms that were too long for the business. So bearing in mind, this is a small business. It's one person that owns the business, and they have quite a few employees. So they were given terms of 60 days, end of month. So if someone had an invoice that they raised at the 1st of August, it wouldn't be due until August, September, the end of October. So it's almost like 3 months before this company got paid. Far too long for a small company to wait to be paid. And this particular company was paying their employees on a weekly basis, but they're invoicing the people who were using them on 60 days. So that basically resulted in the cash flow stalling. The company couldn't survive working like that and ultimately got put into liquidation. So we then got brought in. So we're looking at a company that's in liquidation, and they brought a new company out of the old one. So we were brought in to collect in the outstanding invoices on the old ledger for the liquidator, and also to start up, excuse me, the credit control for the new business. And in many cases, the people that we were talking to were clients from the old business and had transferred across to being clients of the new ones. So we have to be really careful with how we work with them, because if we push them too far, we could put them off continuing with the new business, or they can just stop paying for the old part that they owed. So that was our task. The action that we took then was that we made contact with all the existing customers to inform them what was going on with the old company, what was going on with the new company, and most important of all, coming back to what you'd said, the terms. So they were used to 60-day terms. We now started pushing for 30-day terms, but not from the end of the month, from the date of the invoice. So again, if you ordered 30-day terms at the end of the month, if you ordered the 1st of August, you'll be paying till the end of September. 30 days from the date of the invoice, you'll be paying not the beginning of September, so it's literally 30 days. So it's a smaller amount of time for that company to have to exist before that money comes in. So that's what we did. So we contacted all their clients, explained to them what was going on, set the new terms, and then set out to develop the relationships with their clients. So we're 4 months in, we've got a decent running relationship with all the clients that they've got. But we've managed to do this by communicating, and communication in anything you do in business is key, as you probably know yourself. If you're not communicating, if they're not communicating with you, then we need to instigate that. If we're not communicating with them, they don't know what's going on, so we can't blame them for not doing what we think that they should be doing. Okay, so the result of that was that to date, all the old invoices that were owed on the liquidated company have now been paid off, and that's all been put to bed. And so the new company is now up and running nice and smoothly. It's being paid largely to terms. So there are still companies that aren't paying exactly how we'd like them to be. Mm-hmm. That's okay. But also, there's some larger companies that they have as clients. Those companies are really big companies and they set their payment terms themselves. They set the days, so they just go, you know what? We don't pay 30 days from the date of the invoice. We pay 30 days end of month, and that's it. And that's then the choice of our clients, whether they want to work with them or not. Mm-hmm. And if it's a big company, then generally they know they're going to get paid, so they can make allowances for that. So their ledger now has got a lot of clients on shorter, happier terms for them, and a few bigger clients on longer terms. But because they're bigger clients and it's repeat business all the time, then they're quite happy to go along with that. Mm-hmm. So in terms of the prognosis for that company, the future going forward for them is looking quite rosy. They've got all the clients paying largely to how they want to, terms-wise, and the communication between us, the company, and their clients is fluid. We're building up nice working relationships with people. We can actually phone a lot of them up now and have a good laugh and a joke about stuff, and we can make allowances where needed. So that's a really good example of a small company that basically went under because of really bad terms and because of the lack of cash flow. And now they've kind of come up like a phoenix rising, and they're actually doing quite well.
Wow. So, that's a happy story. I mean, as I listen to you, all the things that we talk about in growing your business, the relationship building, it still continues to be important, even in a difficult situation like collections. The education that you do, the analysis, really looking at the business and what's happening in it, terms, that is quite an integrated approach to come out to a great end. That's fantastic. So you said that you had a couple case studies. Do you have another one you can speak to quickly?
Yeah, sure, Fran. So The other one, the other business that we will bring in to talk about is a bigger business. It's still an SME, but it's a much bigger business than the previous one. Interestingly enough, right, we got this business because they were a client of an accountancy company that we work for, and we chase up the bad debts on the accountancy company, and this client was one of those. So they hadn't paid, and we chased them up, and they called us up about 6 months later and said, you know what, we've got a problem client at the moment, and we are a client of this accountancy company. You chased us up 6 months ago. We really like the way that you handled it. So we'd like you to try and chase up this outstanding invoice. And it was 8,000 quid, and it's quite a small-ish company, so it was a lot. So we actually managed to get that debt in for them, and it was all happy. You know, we got it paid over several months, but the person made the payments. The invoices were cleared off, and so on the back of that, they then asked us to do all their credit control for them. So that's what we do now. So it was a nice pat on the back for us being able to do that. But again, you know, it was two businesses. They're an umbrella sister sort of company, two businesses work in tandem with each other, and the usual problems existed. So it doesn't matter how big or small your company is, not being paid on time. No one was really monitoring the payments. So there's like a small like team of 5 or 6 people, and they had an email address of accounts at this company. And that email could go to, well, did go to all of them, like 5 or 6 of them. And what had happened was someone had opened the email and look at it and think, oh, that might be for so-and-so. And then the rest of them saw the email being opened already and thought, oh, someone else is dealing with it. So it would sit there and it wouldn't get dealt with at all. So there was that going on. A lot of their clients, well, not a lot of them, but quite a few of them pay by direct debit. There was no list of who was a direct debit customer and who wasn't. And in some cases, the direct debit had failed as well. So they didn't know what was coming out, what was going in, the rest of it. So that was a bit of a mess too. The procedures that they had in place were confused, and going back to communication, there really wasn't any going on. So we came in, looked at the sales ledger, and just to put things into perspective a little bit, the sales ledger is like the barometer of a business, isn't it? It's like you can look at the sales ledger and you can tell how well that business is functioning generally. For us, we'd look at the columns. So column 1, that's the sales and stuff that have been made that aren't quite due for payment yet, and you can see that that's looking healthy or otherwise. Column 2 is the one that's a month overdue. Column 3, 2 months overdue, or the older column, more than. And in those cases, right, if you're finding stuff in column 3, the end column, generally there's a problem, because there has to be some sort of reason why it's gone 3 months and no one's being paid. In some cases, it's because the invoicing's wrong, it's gone to the wrong person, it's not got a PO order number on it, or something like that. Where we'd focus, or where we did focus when we came in, was we looked at the 1 month and 2 month overdue columns and thought, right, that's where we can make the difference, because they're people that have just slipped over on the payment terms or set their own terms in some way. So we looked at that, and when we first started, 70% of their due invoices were in the first column, which was great, which meant 70% of their business was not yet due. And then we looked at the other columns, 30% left. Okay, month 2 had 12% of the sales, month 3 9%, and the older column 9%. So 9% of all their sales was a real problem that was not being dealt with. The others were just waiting for payment and weren't paid for some reason or another. So it's quite a significant amount to be overdue for a small company. So, okay, so our task, we need to bring in as much of the outstanding debt as possible for them. So we concentrated on those columns 2 and 3. So we did this again, communication, developing relationships, reinforcing the terms. Again, this company had terms 30 days from the date of the invoice. but a lot of the companies that they were dealing with, a lot of their clients were big ones, and so they didn't pay from date of invoice, they paid from the end of the month. So we started looking at that. We also got an accurate list of the direct debit clients so that we knew which were coming out at the end of every month. And if they didn't, then we knew that we could then contact those clients and say, your direct debit mandate's failed. Yeah, they need to look at that, or you need to pay us straight off.
Mhm.
The company didn't like, or the company that we started working with didn't like to put any of their clients on stop at all. So, because we just go, right, if you're supplying something and they're refusing to pay or they're not paying, then we can put them on stop. And normally, then if they need some goods, they're going to start paying. So that's what we'd normally do. Okay, so what do we do to resolve that? Communication. Okay, highlighted which companies paid on time, which companies paid the end of the month. Okay, and that meant that we didn't chase the customers too hard, because if we're going 30 days from the date of the invoice and it's gone over and we're chasing and we chase again because we haven't had a response, but this is a big company and it doesn't pay till the end of the month, then we are going to get paid, but all we end up doing is just annoying them. So if we're aware of which one's which, then we know where to go in and chase and where to just hold back a little bit and find out when, what's going on. Obviously, if they go over that, then we can chase them again, So we also had a weekly meeting with the finance departments. They didn't used to have a weekly meeting at all. So we did that enabled us to iron out a lot of queries, and a lot of those ones that are in the older column. And generally speaking, they were really simple things, like there was no purchase order number. You're never going to get paid unless you've got a PO number. If that's what a company uses, never going to get paid.
Yeah.
So we have that weekly meeting, and we've worked with them now for 18 months. And when we first started, we had a spreadsheet of queries that was almost as long as their sales ledger. Now we've got a spreadsheet with about 6 entries on. So we've come down quite a lot. So in terms of the results, the ledger looks a lot different now. There's 5% instead of 9% in the older column, but they're historic, but they're also silly little mistakes that people keep making. We're working on getting that reduced. Column 3 is down to 0.4% and column 2 is 0.7%. So before they were like 12 and 9, and now they're both less than 1%. So where we targeted, basically, that doesn't exist anymore. That spillage over the payment date has come right down to virtually nothing. So we've been actually quite successful in working with those people to do that. The company's happy, and the clients also know that these are the times that we need to pay. We've got everything set up, and that's what happens now, and they get paid. Any clients now that they find that they're problematic with paying, we put them on direct debit, so it just comes out automatically, so they don't really have a choice. It's like, sign the direct debit or you don't actually do the business. And that's kind of worked as well. So they've now got a healthier cash flow, smoother running business, and there's more cash again available for them to load up the top end and start doing some more sales and marketing. So yeah, they were quite happy.
Okay, well, Tony, we have about a couple minutes, and I want to, first of all, thank you for that well-detailed examples that you share with us. We have about a minute before we say bye to our audience. Can you share very quickly how people can reach you if they want to tap into your service?
Oh, for sure, yeah. So if you'd like to reach us, then we've got, obviously have a look at the website. So that's midlandcreditcontrol.com. And if you want to contact us, I'm on LinkedIn. So I'm Tony Kiffin on LinkedIn. Or you can get me on Tony Kiffin at midlandcreditcontrol.com. So either of those, I'm sure there'll be a link somewhere that we can put up as well.
Okay. And for sure, what we'll do is we will just post a little update, and we can include that information on our LinkedIn kind of recap to our audience, and they will be able to see your Connect information as well. So we'll do double coverage, if you will. So please,
Fran.
my LinkedIn, and we will make sure that we have that connect information, a website, et cetera, so that we can reach you. So
Thank you.
that's it.
Can I just add quickly at the end before we go?
Sure.
We work with any business. So if you've got a product or a service that you're selling, we can work with you. So we work with any business across the UK. We've got clients across Europe as well, North America and Asia. So large or small, wherever you are, right, we can work with you.
Fantastic. A global reach. And because we have clients everywhere. So thank you so much, Tony. It's been my pleasure. A fantastically detailed and informational conversation. I wish you a fantastic day, and to our audience, thank you so much. And we'll see you soon at our next Tapped In with Verily Biz Solutions. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Fran. Good luck with everything.